Ahead of Saturday's off-cycle governorship elections in Bayelsa, Kogi, and Imo states, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has warned politicians and political parties that it will not count votes on polling units where violence was recorded. Chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, disclosed this yesterday in Yenagoa, the Bayelsa state capital, while addressing election stakeholders during a meeting in preparation for the governorship election on November 11. Yakubu said the commission will not return any polling unit where there was violence for election. Equally yesterday, Inspector General of Police Kaide Egbetukun warned individuals and groups intent on disrupting the election to think twice, as the police high command will be prepared to deal decisively with troublemakers. It's about a lot to talk about.
Okay, well, November 11, major off-cycle election in 3 states of the Federation, Imo, Kogi, Bayelsa. And I think it's appropriate that the relevant agencies that are involved in the conduct of the elections are already meeting with the stakeholders. We saw yesterday the story of the Inspector General of Police going to Bayelsa State to meet with the stakeholders. Now, the INEC chairman also met yesterday, represented as it was by May Agbamuche, who is one of the directors at INEC, the director in charge of legal matters, represented the INEC chairman in Bayelsa State. There was also a meeting of stakeholders in Owerri, the capital of Imo State. And what Professor Mahmoud Yakubu was saying yesterday is that, look, misconduct during elections would attract serious sanctions. If there is any violence in any polling booth, then the results of that polling booth will not be counted. Okay, what does the law say? The Electoral Act, Section 125, 126, 127, all of that, deal with, look, if there are offenses in terms of violence, in terms of ballot snatching, in terms of intimidation, there will be consequences. So what Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, speaking through the director who represented him in Yenagoa, has just said, is to remind people of the law, that violence would not be tolerated. So if you are a political party, you go and cause any act of violence, then of course, the result from that polling unit would be discounted because it will amount to an outright violation of the law. So this is what Mrs. Agbamuche, speaking on behalf of Yakubu, said yesterday. Now, the meeting in Imo State, there was also a problem there. We had a situation whereby the governorship candidates of the Labour Party and the PDP had to stage a walkout, because they've been insisting that the resident electoral commissioner for Imo State should be redeployed. But this is 4 days to the election, and that was a major issue yesterday. It was a chaotic stakeholders meeting in Owerri yesterday, where they walked out, but they are on the ballot, but nobody has talked about redeploying that resident electoral commissioner. So in Imo State, we also have a certain kind of situation. And so it makes sense that Professor Yakubu Mahmoud has spoken ahead of this. In the by-elections on Saturday, there are 10,470 polling units involved. Elections will not be held in about 40 polling units where we're told there are no registered voters. 2 of those polling units in Imo State, 38 in Bayelsa. I hope I'm not mixing them up. No, 2 in Bayelsa, 38 in Imo State. 40 polling units where there will be no, elections on Saturday. And then, according to INEC, in the report made available, about over 137,000 polling agents will be involved in this particular off-cycle election. The police, they say they are ready. The Inspector General of Police has already deployed 3 DIGs to man the election in the 3 states. And he has also said security will be ensured. Nigerians expect that having gone through the general election cycle this year, 2023, that we will see evidence of lessons having been learned in Imo, in Kogi, in Bayelsa, and that the police will play their part of ensuring that there is no violence, and that INEC will ensure, that it maintains the law, it protects the law, it stands by its own rules and procedures, and it shows a commitment in terms of improvement, given the concerns that have been expressed about INEC in the 2023 general elections. So the election in those 3 states will be a major test for INEC, will be a major test for the security agencies, and we will also be waiting to see whether there will be voter apathy or not, because it's a major concern. In Bayelsa State, will people come out in Okunembe, Basambri, to come and vote? In Imo State, will people come out to vote? Now that 2 of the gubernatorial candidates, Labour Party and the PDP, had to stage a walkout yesterday. The INEC has published a list of the candidates and the polling agents that will be involved. We're told some of the parties have not provided polling agents in certain units, but in any case, Saturday will almost be here for this, to these off-cycle elections in Imo, in Kogi, and in Bayelsa State. We hope that the people's will prevail.
I mean, Doctor, happy birthday once again. We're still reading off your birthday. Don't say it's an overstretch. But
we are back to work.
We are back
birthday
to work.
Is over.
We are back to work. But really, I'd like to talk tough this morning and say, what do we want for ourselves as a country? If the electoral bodies bungle these elections, then Nigerians will not be very happy with them. Leading up to this election, the SDP candidate says he's been attacked over 30 times. He's lost 3 police officers. Attempt on his life. Till today, all the perpetrators of those actions have not been brought to book. There's been violence everywhere leading up to the elections. How can a candidate of a party be attacked close to 30 times? Even 3 police officers being killed. The Labour Party and the PDP candidates in Imo walked out because they have complained about the state wreck constantly, Rosago. And INEC has not done anything about it, because it's already a ground for complaint if anything happens as regards these elections. In Bayelsa, we have brickbats. Only yesterday, the spokesperson of the PDP came out here to talk about the security situation and talk about how people are mobilizing weapons and all of that. Anyway, yet to be independently verified. And we've not heard anything about it. We all remember the last elections in Kogi. We all remember how Natasha Akpoti was treated, was manhandled. But today she finally became senator. I was talking about when she was running for governorship under SDP. We all remember the scenes, the Armageddon, people burnt. If we want to build a democracy, let's build it. If we want to build a joke, let's build a joke. But these elections must count. And I would like to ask INEC, hope you will live true to your words. INEC, hope will not have a case of IREV. Hope will not have a case of ballot box snatching and you still count the polls in those polling units. Hope your people will come on time. Hope will not have all sorts of other shenanigans that happened in the last elections. We have not forgotten the case of Jennifer that was stabbed and gouged in the eyes. Our only offense was because we want to vote. As a country, we must look at the past and see how we can better the past. This shouldn't be about the dominance of any political party. It should be about the dominance of the will of the people. If the elections does not reflect the will of the people will complain. And this is another chance for INEC to right the wrong. Hope we are not going to have technical glitch with IREV. Because till today, as we speak, you must say for the past election, we've not known what constitutes the reason for that technical glitch. We just want elections to be better, and we keep calling. And we also call on the security authorities to do right by the people. It is abhorrent that a candidate of a political party had been attacked over 30 times in Kogi State. Until date, we've not seen the culprits. We must make this election count. And INEC should remember that the eyes of the Nigerian people are on INEC as a body. And please, in furtherance of our democracy, this is the time Nigerians too should agitate for electoral reforms. By now, we should see all those sections of the Electoral Act that we know there's a lacuna and push it to the lawmakers of various opposition political parties and other political parties to be able to push and ensure we start to get reforms on them. We are quickly getting to the end of the year. It's already 6 months into the administration. Before you know it, another 1 year will pass. After the end of the second year, know that politicking will have started and National Assembly members will not have time to be able to do all of this. So it's the time for us to start pushing for electoral reforms now to save this country. God bless Nigeria. Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria have declared an immediate total strike in Imo State starting at midnight on Tuesday. At an extraordinary National Executive Council meeting, the organized labor ordered a shutdown of electricity and fuel supplies in Imo State. It directed aviation workers to ensure that flights in and outside the state are suspended. The strike has been precipitated by the attack of the NLC president, Joe Ajaero, and other labor leaders. Besides other matters, they also resolved to declare a nationwide strike by Tuesday, November 14, if their demands are unmet. Meanwhile, the Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has threatened to sue President Tinubu and the Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodinma, over the attack on the national president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Joe Ajaero. Ajaero was last week arrested by the police ahead of the statewide protest in Imo State. However, the police denied arresting Ajaero, stating that he was merely taken into protective custody to prevent a mob attack. Governor Uzodinma later accused the Labour leader of meddling into state political affairs. Announcing the decision on X, formerly known as Twitter, SERAP said it is suing for the failure of authorities to bring suspected perpetrators to justice. Dr. Batin.
Well, SERAP always, trying to bring up legal issues, but that's what civil society should do, of course, to hold government and stakeholders in government accountable. Now, where are we? Yesterday, we discussed this subject. We were saying that perhaps with the Inspector General of Police deciding to move Mohammed Badi, the Commissioner of Police in Imo State, out of Imo State ahead of the elections, that maybe the NSC and the TUC at their meeting yesterday will be persuaded to just call off the strike that they had said they will embark upon. But as it has turned out, the NSC and the TUC, organized labor, so to speak, seem not to be impressed with the steps that have been taken. They have specific demands. One of them have been met, but there are other demands. They asked that the area commander of the police in Imo State should also go. They asked that the government of Imo State should honor agreements with labor in Imo State with regard to salaries, arrears, implementation of the national minimum wage, all of which they said the Imo State government had refused to honor. 3, they asked that even the head of the DSS, Department of State Security in Imo State, should go. But there was also some demand about President Tinubu calling Governor Hope Uzodinma to order. Well, I said yesterday that President Tinubu is not a headmaster. It's not a supervising adjutant general, or what is that name they use in the military, who will have to whip people into line. It's not a headmaster. He has his own job cut out for him. 3, they wanted Governor, 4, they wanted Governor Hope Uzodinma to apologize to organized labor. And then, of course, they threatened that if all of these demands are not met, they would declare a strike. So they had their meeting yesterday, and now they say they are going on strike, and that they are going to start from Imo State today. What do they say they will do? They are asking all private and public workers in Imo State not to go to work. They are saying that the Imo airport will be shut down beginning from today, which means nobody can, use the airport, the Owerri airport, to go into Imo State. And they are threatening that, look, this is just starting with Imo State, that if by next week, both the federal government and the Imo State government have not acceded to their demands, then there will be a nationwide strike. So this is the situation this morning. Yesterday, we advised that the governor of Imo State, Senator Opuzodima should reach out to organized labor. There could have been ways in which this could have been handled better. And now, 4 days to the election, it is a question of Opuzodima and APC versus organized labor. Yeah, some analysts will say, well, Opuzodima is a member of the Labour Party, as someone was saying on the same program yesterday. But this is perhaps not just about politics. It's about managing people. It's about emotional intelligence. What will be the implications for the people of Imo State? This would certainly have implications for the elections on Saturday. And we just hope that maybe, the federal government and the state government and other stakeholders, elders in Imo State will intervene to make sure, that the situation that we're facing does not go out of hand. Already, Ebunlu Adegboruwa, former student union activist, now a prominent lawyer, senior advocate of Nigeria, has even said, look, labor should go ahead, and that the impunity on the part of government is too much, and that they should stand up, not just to the Imo State government, but also the federal government of Nigeria. Well, does the federal government want that kind of situation? So sometimes maybe it's better to act proactively, as they say, rather than allow situation to get out of hand. Because what Ebunlu Adegboruwa is simply saying is that the present administration appears to be taking labor for granted.
So a lot has to be said about this. Number one, I condemn in entirety the way Mr. Joe Ajero was treated. You don't treat somebody like that. He has a right to come and protest in the state, even if you have discordances and discrepancies. You don't treat him that way. Because it's Joe Ajero today, we don't know who it will be tomorrow. And what you're saying is an invitation to anarchy. And I don't see a big deal in what Labour is saying, that Governor Uzodinma should apologize. As the chief security officer of the state, something of that nature happened in your state under your watch. Because governors are the chief security officer. It is when they want to be political and they can't solve the problem on ground, they will say, oh, all the others come from Abuja. We know, but they wield influence, and we can't deny that. So that is wrong. And President Tinubu, as the Labour Corps, must step in. He's the father of the nation. Although I don't see any reason for him to be stepping in, just like I said in the case of Rivers. But if we want to extend that conversation, Mr. Hope Uzodinma must do the needful. Must have a conversation with Labour and call them. Because what was Labour protesting for? Lack of welfare of the workers in the state. Is your word against us? Governor Uzodinma said he's paid for it. And he's paid all the encumbrance. Labour said he's not paid. The workers feel intimidated and all of that. But that doesn't warrant him being beaten that way. So, one, as Labour demanded, they must apologize to Joe Ajero, because it happened under the watch. Also, there must be an independent investigation. It's not by just the police releasing a statement and the position say, oh, they rescued him from a mob. So why was he hurt that way? Or had the mob hurt him before they rescued him? The police must be able to tell us what went down. Because we can't have a country where lawlessness just reigns supreme. Anyway, is that not the country we have when you look at it? This was the same country where they killed the Attorney General of the country. Till today, the killers have not been brought to book. Bola Ige. We forget that in a hurry. So do we allow this impunity to continue? Joe Ajero can be beaten now by unknown men, as the police claim, unknown mob. So what it means that anybody can be beaten by an unknown mob? No, we must stop it. Also, in all of this, Labour has made many arguments, and I hope the federal government will listen to them. I should think the federal government will listen to them. Just like how Labour threatened the other time that if the federal government doesn't withdraw the case in the industrial courts, they will go on strike. And government did listen to them. So it's within their power to be able to do this. Also, what's the blame for Labour? I hear the concerns of people saying that when Labour was supposed to speak up for the people, they didn't do enough. As regards going on strike for the fuel subsidy, that they left it too much. Yes, Labour could have done better. Because when a lot of Nigerians expected the strike, when the hardship was biting, and the hardship is still biting hard, we didn't hear from Labour. They just had warning strikes that were suspended, and they said they will go back to the drawing table. But nothing always comes out of the drawing table. And that's why a lot of people say Labour should have taken a firm stand. But all in all, Governor Uzodinma must bring himself out of this quagmire. If it will take him to apologize to Labour because he's the chief security officer of the state and he takes full responsibility for everything that happens in the state, he should, to be able to avert this impending strike. But on this strike, if it's for this cause that Joe Ajero was hurt and beaten, I support it totally, because we can't have a country where lawlessness and people are beaten because of protest and all of that. We still have many cases of people hurt during protest unresolved, and a lot of gaslighting happened. We can't allow for this to continue in this country. And that's why I always ask the question, do we want to build a country or we want to build a joke? If we want to build a joke, we can take the other route. But if we truly want to build a country, we need to make the tough and hard decisions and ensure that, irrespective of anybody concerned, rule of law is upheld.